In this video, I'm going to be talking about jacking up your truck, putting it on jack stands, and changing your tires. Now, as you can see, our 2019 250 is up on jack stands on all four wheels. Look at it. It looks like it's floating. And I think a lot of people might have questions on how to do this. What's the best practice? And that's what we're going to talk about today. How to jack up your truck, put on your tires, a couple little tricks that might help you if you are doing this and don't want to lift heavy. But a little bit of a backstory. Why do we even have this 2019 F250 lifted up like this? The reason is I wanted to test the tires to figure out how much more fuel these aggressive Wrangler Duratracs would use. So it was a crazy amount of work, a ton of work to literally pop all the tires off and put on the tires from the 250. These tires that are on this truck actually belong on the F250. So I got to switch everything back around. So why not do a little demonstration on how to do that? So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Oh, hey, Nate. So number one, I've got to get these tires off of this truck so I can put them back on our 250 where they belong. But if you notice, I'm limited on space and I've got this truck parked in my driveway on a little bit of an incline, which means that once I lift up my rear axle, I will no longer have park and the vehicle could roll down the driveway on me. So I must chock the wheels. It's a good idea to chock both at the same, both axles. The front, we can chock the whole front end. Here's a brick. And I'm also going to put a brick on the other side so that the vehicle cannot roll backwards. Now, here's the deal. This is where a lot of people can get tricked up. You're in an incline and you want to just take off one wheel. If you take off one wheel, even on the rear, you will lose park because you need both the rear tires on the ground in order to maintain park. So you lift up one wheel and you can lose park and the vehicle could roll away and you can get hurt. So you got to chock the wheels if you're going to be losing park, or anytime you're on an incline, or really anytime you're lifting the vehicle at all. You should chock your wheels. You should chock the stationary wheels so the vehicle is not likely to roll. But if you're on an incline, it will most definitely roll down the hill once you lift the vehicle up off of the rear of the ground and the vehicle is no longer able to be in park. The front wheels are free spinning and they are not holding the vehicle stationary. So let's go ahead and jack up the rear and talk about that as well. So I'm jacking up the truck here from the rear differential, but this is not approved location from Ford. I've just always done it this way, but double check your owner's manual and follow those instructions. Don't follow my instructions, follow what the owner's manual say, follow Ford's recommendations. But when I do jack up my truck on the rear diff, I'm careful not to damage my diff cover. If I take my jack and I jack into that diff cover and bend it up there on the end and could cause a leak. Maybe that's why Ford doesn't recommend it, but I've always done it this way, and this is how I was trained when I was in school and when I was working in construction. Nonetheless, follow Ford's recommendations, and they have different points on the rear diff that they want you to use. It may even be like the shock mount or something like that, maybe the spring perch, but double check your owner's manual to get the official Ford recommended. But nonetheless, I am doing this because now I can zip off both rear wheels and put the originals back on in one swift move. Anyway, let me get these wheels off. Okay, taking off the wheels, and another tip, get a pry bar and wrap it in vinyl tape. If you do not have anything, go for the factory tool because it is coated. The factory tool that comes to remove the spare tire is coated. And if you do not have something coated and you try to remove this, for our case, I'm using this pry bar wrapped in vinyl. As I pry on this and I reach in here, I am making sure that the vinyl is in contact with the painted surface of the wheel. Otherwise, it will jack up the paint on the tire. I'll see if I can work this off with one hand. Kind of difficult here, but I see what I can do. I gotta have two hands. Hold on one second. Okay. There we go. Boom. So the tape is protecting the wheel. Otherwise, this will get all scratched up, and that's not what we want. We want to protect our investment. So another thing is, if you are working on your truck, you want to kind of be efficient, I guess. So now that I'm popping these off and I'm holding on to this, I'm just going to pop all these off. That way I'm not switching tools too often. Anyway, let me go ahead and get all these covers off and then get these wheels off. Another tip is not to jack the truck up unnecessarily high. The jack can go much higher than it is, but I only have it this high because it's just a half an inch off the ground, meaning that I don't have to lift the tire quite as high to put it on, making it difficult. And when I go to slide this tire off, before it drags the inside painted surface of this wheel and scratch it on the brake caliper that you see in there, it will scratch up the inside of the wheel, opening it up to corrosion and unnecessary wear. So instead, I'm only like a fraction of an inch off of the ground, less than 1 inch, it'd be half an inch. So as the tire slides off, it will not have to fall far, and I do not have to lift it high. So let me go ahead and pull it off. Cameraman, hold this and point it. Step back. All right. Well, let's go ahead and pull this tire off. Shouldn't be too hard because it's not lifted incredibly high. There you go. Slides right off, and the truck is not unnecessarily high. So let's go ahead and switch these out for the ones that were in here before, the Continentals. All right. Okay, another tip. When you put your Ford tires on, you need to be aware of the seizing of the wheel. So right here, you can see this surface right here. This is the hub-centric surface. And for whatever reason with these Fords, on this hub-centric surface where you can see kind of the rust marks, they tend to seize onto the truck. Now, I'm going to grease this, but I am not going to grease my rotor. Right here on this face, you actually want no grease, but you want static friction. So you do not lubricate this. You would not want that to be lubricated. Right here, what you want to put, this is what I do, and I'm not really recommending anyone do this for any reason, because this is not an approved thing from Ford to do. But what happens with these trucks and these aluminum wheels is right here on the hub, they seize really bad to the truck, and it makes it almost impossible to get them off after about a year or two of driving. Now this truck's brand new, so these came right off, but I'm just going to lubricate the hub right here, just the hub centric part, not the face of the rotor. Like I said, I want clamping force and friction right there, but I do not want the wheel to be stuck on the truck. And I've seen guys hitting these with hammers and sledgehammers and things like that, and the wheels will not come off. You have these nice aluminum wheels and these dissimilar metals, and it ends up being an issue to remove the tire. So let me go ahead and show you what I do. I'm not recommending anybody do it because it's not an approved Ford procedure, but this is just something I do so the wheels come off easily. All right, so basically the only thing I'm going to grease is this surface right here, and it doesn't take a whole lot, just a little bit. And once I got it started, I can go ahead and spread it around. Now, not the whole face. I'm not greasing the whole face. I don't need to grease the face where it gets all stuck. Now, someone actually recommended, like, hey, you can use anti-seize and all this. I don't know. I don't have all that stuff. I just have this product, just the AMSOIL grease, and it doesn't need a whole bunch, just a little bit, just on the hub centric, not the whole face, not the whole thing. But anyway, that's it. I'm gonna throw the tire on now. Okay, so this tire should be pretty easy to put on. I got this truck sitting so low. Let's see if I can do it without any fancy maneuvers. So I'm just walking it in here slowly. Let's see where we are. Too far, wow. You can tell I don't do this every day. Get it in there. Tire's gotta go up. Oh, I gotta go up quite a bit because those bigger 33s come off of the truck. So let me show you a trick. So bigger tires come off of the truck, so it makes it so I got to lift this tire super high because these tires are shorter than those other tires. So watch this. You take a bar, you grab a hold of the tire like this on the top, put the bar underneath it like this, and the tire goes up for you. Up she goes. And it's all a balancing act, but very light like that. I'm not lifting the whole tire. And if I want to spin it, I can go like this, and I can spin the wheel. And it doesn't really, there we go, it's spinning. Okay, now I'll take a smaller bite like this and push it on up. Kind of kicked out for me, take a small bite, and there you go. Slips right on. Minimum damage to the paint on the wheel. Everything's nice and clean, and I can go ahead and start my lug nuts. So this tire is jacked really high. Let's see if we can get it with our method, with the bar, with the hand on the top. Kind of grab the top like you're giving it a little bit of a hug. Put the bar under it, like so. Pop up the bar. Up she goes, balanced, and on she goes. You can see a little residual grease from me greasing the hub centric. And you can see the truck wants to rock because I've got it on the center diff. So the truck's rocking on the jack. Super safe. That's probably why Ford doesn't want you doing that, huh? Okay. And we like to hand start our lug nuts. Gotta hand start the lug nuts. Okay guys, so this is how I tighten up my wheels. Now, don't do any of this. You shouldn't do this. You need a torque wrench. You need everything to be right, so don't do this. But this is how I'm gonna tighten them up. Let me know if this is wrong. So on my gun, I turn the power down. This is a great big Milwaukee. I don't want to have it on 3 and 4 or whatever. I got it set to 2, which is not the lowest, but not the highest, kind of in the middle of our torque abilities. I like to work down the first 2 shots. Boop, boop. Getting the tire evenly onto the hub. Just touch it. Just touch it. All right, so I got the wheel on the truck straight. It's on straight. Now, you need to use a torque wrench. You need to do this right. Unfortunately, I do not own a big enough torque wrench to do this, so I'm kind of working with what I have. But don't do this. Use the proper tools, which would be a torque wrench or a torque stick. All right, so the way I do it, and the way, I'm not saying anyone should do this, but this is how I do it. I got the first 2 shots. They're not tight, but they're down. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and go back to the first shot, and I'll kind of hit it. Boom, that's it. I'm done with that shot for now. Then I'll go down to the bottom one, and I'll kind of hit it. Roughly all of these I'll hit the same, with the same amount of torque. These 2 are done, and the way I know if I've hit them or not is they're not even ran down, they're all the way up. So being that they're all the way up, I know that they haven't been touched. Instead of maybe running them down and not knowing which ones are fully torqued, and then kind of timing it by how long I laid on it to get somewhat of an even torque, even though it's not with a torque wrench. So the bigger trucks can be a little bit more forgiving, but you should do it right. You should use a torque wrench. There's no grease, there's no NCCs, there's nothing like that on the lug nuts, which absolutely should not be on the lug nuts. But here we go. And that's it, and that's that, and I'll roll with that. As far as the torque, this is a big gun. It depends on the size of your gun. It depends on a lot of different variables. So if you know, for me, I'm gonna double check them. I'm gonna torque them with a wrench later. But don't do this without a torque wrench. You don't want to do that. You gotta use a torque wrench. But anyway, next shot. Okay, so how do I handle the front end? Now with the front diff, I am not lifting the entire front end at once. On this front end, I am lifting one side at a time, and I do believe that is a Ford approved location, but I'm not an encyclopedia. Double check your owner's manual for Ford approved lifting points, but we're using this point right there. It is right where the radius arm connects to the front diff, or not front diff, but front axle tube. You could probably lift this thing on the axle tube, I would imagine. I don't know. But we're just going one side at a time, popping on the wheel, and moving on to the next. So the last wheel on this truck is done. The 2022 350 is done. I've got all the wheels on the 250 back in the original location, so the tire pressure monitors will not be confused. And these wheels just need to be tightened up. I got to put the lug nuts on here and tighten up the rest, put on the caps, lower the truck. But over here, in the rear of this truck, we lifted the rear axle right in the center and popped in 2 jack stands. We used the big heavy duty Pro Lift jack stands rated for like I think 6,000 pounds each, don't quote me, but they're heavy duty and they have an extra locking pin that goes through there. So if you're gonna lift your truck, don't get no Mickey Mouse jack stands, get some good ones. They say 6 ton on them. I think they're 6 ton combined. It's kind of hard to find a single jack stand that can handle 6 tons, but nonetheless, this truck doesn't even weigh 6 tons. So anyway, for the front end here, we have our jack stands on either side of the axle tube, and I may or may not have lifted this with the axle tube in the middle, but I might just lower it. This truck seems to be able to take it, but anyway, let me go ahead and tighten up all these wheels and close out this video. That's it, and that's that. Everything is back to normal. I am done. Comment below, let me know what you think. This is DS Trucks. My name is Sean. Share the vid and hope to see you next time. Over and out.